my papa, the more kwaba about Ghana yensum jumedi so. A regular host ama Veroni ni. Odofo, when in Bayadria, Ghana's economy has gone through a lot of phases. The Sentinel, Kofo be briacha wadria for Ghana economy. They say they almost say economy na tetia pansamu. A lot of people are saying that Ghana's economy is in crisis. The Sentinel, ye triben urebia, we suya dia konkan ewo economics mo. Abranti, ye freno, Bernard Mornah, former National Chairman of PNC. Enje cry, ye dem komone besheshe so. Say the die ye no. Ye dim komono. Don't want so watch your your comment section. Madam Wase.
Bernard Mornah, we know that you have a bit of background in economic and development. Okay? We know that economic crisis is not new to just Ghana. Greece has had its own issues. But then, looking at the West, when they get a crisis, they're able to bounce back. What have you identified that has actually gone wrong with our system as Africans and Ghana, to be precise, which is keeping us sinking deeper and deeper?
It's leadership who do not reflect the theory on our own situation.
Yeah.
We all went to school, we learned about the economics of averages,
Okay.
which should become normal things for us in order to pass exams.
Okay.
But there is something you have to ask. When the United States of America is using gross domestic product as a measure of the health of their economy, what does that mean? The United States and its citizens owns a chunk of that economy.
Right.
When China is using gross domestic product as a measure of the health of their economy, the Chinese people and the Chinese government owns more than a chunk of the economy.
Right.
All other countries across the globe, from Germany to Italy, they use gross domestic product because they own their economy.
Okay.
In our circumstances, we don't own the economy. Therefore, the health of our economy cannot be determined by the gross domestic product. The gross domestic product encapsulates productions that and ownership of foreigners that are in our country.
Right.
So if, for instance, you take the telecom sector, all the telecom providers are foreign companies.
Right.
So if you calculate the services and the income they make as part of your GDP, and they finish and MTN takes its money away,
Right.
Vodafone takes its money away, Airtel Tigo, they take their money away, you realize that the Ghanaian percentage in that is non-existent. And therefore GDP will be seen to be rising. Your people of Ghana will be telling you that times are tough, and you ignorantly come and say that we have done well, we have grown GDP by this. But that GDP that is grown is to whose benefit?
Right.
That GDP has flown away. Go to the mining sector, we have sold off all our shares.
Right.
And therefore, those who own the mining sector, as soon as they make the money and you calculate it as part of your GDP, boom, it's gone.
Right.
The oil sector, 13%, 87% is gone.
Right.
But 900% of what is produced in Ghana is added as your GDP. And you come and you are boastful that you have grown GDP. I ask you, which economic theories are you applying? Because you don't own it.
Okay, so if I get you right, some people are also suggesting that we implement some sort of protectionism in our economic sector.
I am
How
a farmer.
realistic is
Let me
that?
tell you, I am a farmer.
Yeah.
I go and produce my soybean, for instance,
Okay.
and I sell soybean raw.
Okay.
They buy, they go and process the soybean, they get milk. They bring it back to me as soya milk. They get oil, we get soya oil.
Okay.
They get cake, they get tofu, they get soya meat
Right.
out of what I have produced. So they will bring it back and I'll pay 10 times more than they bought it from me.
Yeah.
Are we okay? How do you think
Well,
how do you think that the economy can grow? And then you have a government that said that you are doing planting for food and jobs.
Yeah.
And you are happy to be telling people that you have supported farmers to do this. How does production equal to value addition?
Well, not to cut you again, but now Akufo-Addo government, okay, is talking about one district, one factory, and the fact
And
that
that
they
is
are
the
opening.
point. That is the point I'm coming.
Yeah.
Who is doing the one district, one factory? Government has decided to take yourself away. You support some private man that has a shop and say that he wants to convert it into a factory. You go and give him money to do a factory. He buys all the things that he wants to do, makes it nice. After 2 years, that person says that I'm going to convert it into a university. Have we gone or we have come? That is why Kwame Nkrumah deliberately established these industries, established the state farms, so that if the private sector decides that farming is not profitable, the state farms will be able to feed the agro industries. That is the common sense we talk about in Kwame Nkrumah. If you go to Germany, what you can call the BVG, they call it BFAG.
Right.
That is the German transport system in its entirety. It was not developed by the private sector. It was developed, nurtured to maturity, and government now decide that we have reached a certain point of saturation, let us sell off. British Airways is still in existence. It was not established by the private sector. It was established by the state, grown into a certain level, then they allow management buy it. You have not done that, and you get up and say that the private sector is the engine of growth. Clearly, the engine cannot move if there is no body, if there is no steer, if there is no tie. We are talking about the vehicle of growth, which is the government. Let the government take center stage in ensuring that the industries are established. If you want to do agriculture and do agro-based industries, let the government participate in it. And once the government participates in it and it begins to yield profit, the private sector will not be crowded out. They will participate in the process, and together we'll build the holistic economy that we want. When we sit down, somebody come and tell us that, oh, it's not the business of government to do business, but it's the business of government to run government, then let's auction the presidency as well, because there will be better presidents than those we have in our country.
Okay, so let's just sway a little bit from economics and then get back to ECOWAS. I know at one point in time you were the secretary for ECOWAS interim steering for what political parties within the sub-region. With the toppling of the government in Guinea, like the Guinea coup, how do you feel about that? Because experts are saying that we should expect more of these within the sub-region because of...
It is kept long in happening in Togo. It has kept long in happening in Cote d'Ivoire. It has kept long in happening in Cameroon. It has kept long in happening in Niger. Why? Why would you claim that you are a democratic country? Nobody forced you to be a democratic country. You have constitutions. You don't want to respect constitutions. Togo, backyard Togo. The president of Togo is the direct son of the former president of Togo. His father ruled the country for 38 years and died. The day he died, they just went and picked his son and came and put him there. Today, he's in his 17th year. And he has decided that after running 3 terms, this is the time he's now going to amend the constitution to go a 4th term. And you say that you are ECOWAS of people. And when we say, tell those leaders, don't allow the overthrow of the constitutions by president. You say that no, you cannot. They have sovereignty. When the people now take the gun onto themselves and change their president, then you now don't recognize that they have sovereignty. You are going to tell them what?
Sanction them.
How are you going to sanction a sovereign nation when you could not intervene in the sovereign nation's decision to turn the constitution to allow for somebody's ugly desires? Right. Now that the citizens have decided to take on their own sovereignty and determine their path, ECOWAS is there.
So, in your opinion...
Look, I am not in favor of coup d'etats.
Yes.
I hope and pray that we will allow for democratic transitions as to whether even this democracy is of any benefit to us.
That was what I was going to go to.
Just as I sometimes question whether education is of relevance to us, because Kwame did develop this country with less educated people than today, when we have educated people who are now the stealers of our nation's resources. Exactly. And so I do not think that democracy is really the panacea to the crisis confronting us. But you cannot compare the opportunity that people have to change their governments to a dictatorship. And whilst we continue to have dictators, you do not expect that citizens can just fold their arms and allow these dictators to continue ad infinitum. It will happen. Ali Bongo, he died. His son Ben Bongo took over. How can we continue to be in this situation? So I'm not surprised that we are beginning to predict the kind of calamities that will befall the sub-region. Probably it will be good riddance that we are able to clear the system and the plate and start afresh so that we will know how far we have degenerated.
Right.
And as a result of that, we'll be building a solid Africa. Look at Rwanda. After they shredded themselves, they are rebuilding, and now they remind themselves that we were into this ditch and we don't want to go there. And that is how come you see that Rwanda has rebuilt. Sometimes it's good to get to the pit so that you can start to climb.
So until our leaders come to the realization that
The corrupt African leaders are the ones who will go and sit up at ECOWAS. So it's a club of corrupt leaders. You want them to fight corruption. They won't go and form the African Union. And it is only they who will go and sit down and determine a decision as to how they will deal with corruption in this continent. So the corrupt leaders assemble themselves to now tell us that they are going to fight corruption. Where? So the point I'm making is that unless citizens rise and take up the mantle by ourselves and tell our leaders there's enough of what we are doing, we will not be able to salvage ourselves and our future.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for it.
Oh my papa, enkomotwetwe na heya na edibesi. Ye ne owura Bernard Mornah e na twetwe nkomo yi. Wone ne ya adwa na ne nya adwene. Ma yente wonka e wo your comment section. Your regular host Ama Veronini, and don't forget to subscribe for more interesting interactions right here on Ghana Yonsum. Medawase.